You don't owe anyone the version of yourself that suffered in silence. You don't have to keep showing up as the woman who accepted crumbs, stayed too long, gave too much, and received too little. This isn't about becoming hard. This is about becoming whole. Because the truth is, no one's coming to save you. Not the one who broke you, not the one you kept forgiving. Healing is your job. And today, you take that power back. We think being left means something is wrong with us, that maybe we weren't enough, that if we had just loved harder, been quieter, more beautiful, more patient, more something, they would have stayed. And so we carry that weight like shame, walking through life with the belief that their absence is our failure. But let me tell you something no one ever told you. You were not abandoned. You were redirected. What left your life was not a punishment, it was protection. You didn't lose something valuable, you were pulled away from what was slowly breaking you. There are moments in life where you'll think the silence they left behind is unbearable. The unanswered texts, the ghosted conversations, the slow detachment, those moments sting. They echo in places you didn't know could ache. But beneath that ache is truth. And the truth is this: you were not meant to stay in a place where you had to fight just to be seen. We romanticize endurance. We call it love when we stay and suffer. We call it loyalty when we tolerate being half held, half heard, half loved. But that's not love. That's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of facing ourselves. And so when they walk away, it's easy to feel empty. But what if that emptiness is a sacred clearing? What if the space they left is the space you now get to fill with your own truth? What if their absence is not a wound, but a window, a doorway back to your own soul? You weren't abandoned. You were given a moment of clarity. You were shown that no matter how much you bend, you can't make someone stay who was never built to hold you. And now you're being given a sacred chance, the chance to come home to yourself, to finally listen to your voice without the noise of someone else's confusion. Sometimes we chase closure. We want explanations. We want to understand why. But the why doesn't always matter, because the answer is in their actions. The answer is in how they made you feel, how they disappeared when you needed them most, how they made you doubt your own light. And honestly, that's all the closure you need. Don't confuse their silence with your worth. Don't measure your value based on someone who didn't even take the time to understand your heart. Their leaving doesn't say anything about your beauty, your depth, or your capacity to love. It says everything about them. You were redirected to yourself, to the version of you that was buried under compromise, to the woman who once whispered her needs instead of speaking them, to the soul that used to shrink just to keep someone else comfortable. And now she's waking up. This isn't a story about loss. It's a story about remembering, about seeing yourself clearly again, about no longer needing someone else's presence to validate your existence. It hurts. I won't lie to you. Healing hurts. But that pain you feel right now, that ache, it's proof you're finally peeling off the layers you put on just to be accepted. It's the shedding of every piece of yourself you gave away in the name of love. And with every tear you cry, with every moment you resist the urge to reach back out, with every night you sit with your own silence, you are returning. Slowly, steadily, beautifully, you are returning. You didn't lose them. They lost someone who gave them grace, someone who showed up, someone who stayed soft, even when they didn't deserve it. But you gained something far more powerful. You gained your voice. You gained your boundaries. You gained the freedom to choose you, fully, unapologetically, without guilt. So the next time your heart aches for what left, remind yourself, you were not abandoned. You were chosen. Chosen by life, by God, by the universe to begin again. Chosen to grow, chosen to heal, chosen to stop surviving on breadcrumbs and finally feast on the fullness of your own worth. This is your redirection, and you are exactly where you're meant to be. Let's be honest. For a long time, you became someone you didn't even recognize, all in the name of love. You bent, you folded, you twisted yourself into someone smaller, softer, quieter, just to be loved. You walked on eggshells. You over-explained, overcompensated, and overgave, hoping they would finally see you, value you, choose you. But let's call it what it was. You weren't being loved, you were being tolerated. And worse, you tolerated being tolerated. You started hiding the parts of yourself that were too much. Your voice, your standards, your questions, your emotions. So many things that made you you, you buried them. And each time you shrank, they stayed. Not because they loved you, but because they loved what they could get away with. And yet, you kept holding on because somewhere deep down you believed that if you were just better, more patient, more forgiving, less confrontational, they would finally love you right. You thought love was something you could earn if you suffered long enough. But love that demands your self-abandonment isn't love. It's survival. You weren't being loved. You were being trained, conditioned to silence your pain, to numb your needs, to prove yourself endlessly. And for what? Scraps of affection that came only when you were convenient, temporary warmth from someone who only knew how to love in moments, not in consistency. But here's the truth they never told you. Love doesn't require acrobatics. You don't have to contort yourself into pieces just to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You don't have to bend so much that you break. You thought your ability to adapt was strength. But real strength is standing in your fullness and still believing you're worthy of love. Not despite your depth, but because of it. You gave so much of yourself to someone who never asked how you were doing unless it affected them. And the most painful part? You stayed. You thought it was love. But you were loving them at your own expense. You let red flags become white flags, symbols of surrender. You called it grace. You called it compassion. But looking back, you know it was fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of facing yourself. But something changed, didn't it? One day, you woke up and realized that love shouldn't feel like this, that your softness isn't a weakness, and your needs aren't a burden, that bending any further would mean losing the last piece of yourself still holding on. And that's when you began to rise, not loudly, not all at once, but quietly, in moments. When you finally said no to things you used to accept. When you let the phone ring instead of chasing clarity from someone who only confused you. When you stopped shrinking and started standing. Now you rise, not to prove anything, not to seek revenge, not to show them what they lost, but to be whole again. You rise because you realize that you are not here to fit into someone else's life. You are here to live your truth, boldly and completely. And you are allowed to be a lot. You are allowed to be intense, emotional, passionate, deep, complex, soft, strong, all at once. The right love will never ask you to dim your light to be digestible. You're no longer bending to be loved. You're walking in the power of being whole, of knowing your worth so deeply that silence becomes more sacred than forced conversations. That solitude feels more healing than half-loved companionship. This is your rising. You don't owe them another version of you. The only person you ever needed to be was the one who finally said enough. So stand in that, in your voice, in your boundaries, in your healing. You spent years bending for love, now you rise for yourself. Because the version of you that honors her truth is the version who finally stops settling for less than sacred. Somewhere along the way, we were taught a lie, that the more you suffer for love, the more you prove you deserve it, that being patient through disrespect, holding on through neglect, and staying loyal through emotional starvation would eventually earn you a deeper kind of love. But let me say this, with every ounce of truth in me, love is not a reward for suffering. You don't earn love by sacrificing your peace. You don't win someone's heart by bleeding for them while they're too busy wounding you to notice. Love isn't a prize at the end of pain. It's not something handed out after you've proven you can endure mistreatment without complaining. That's not love. That's conditioning. That's trauma disguised as romance. You've been taught that real love is patient, that love endures all things. And yes, love does require effort, but love should not demand your silence. It should not test how much disrespect you can swallow before you break. That's not love. That's emotional survival. Some of you have stayed in situations that drained the very life out of you, thinking that if you just kept going, kept forgiving, kept loving harder, they'd finally change. But let me ask you this. Why should your pain be the price you pay for love? Why should your tears be currency? Why should your self-worth be on the chopping block every time they get angry? Love is not something you earn by enduring what breaks you. The kind of love that leaves you anxious, confused, waiting by the phone, doubting yourself, questioning your every word, that is not sacred. That is not divine. That is not yours to keep. You've given so much of yourself hoping someone would see your loyalty and finally treat you right. But the truth is, love isn't proven in how much pain you're willing to tolerate. It's revealed in how much truth both people are willing to hold. Real love doesn't need you to suffer. It asks you to be honest, to be whole, to be present. It meets you where you are and says, you don't have to pretend, perform, or prove, just be. But many of us confuse chaos with passion. We confuse inconsistency with depth. We confuse anxiety with excitement. We've been fed such a toxic version of love that when something peaceful, safe, and kind comes along, we think it's boring because all we've ever known is pain packaged as passion. You don't have to stay where you're being hurt just because you've invested time. You don't have to keep accepting emotional scraps, hoping that one day it will turn into a feast. You are not a project. You are not a fixer. You are not a proving ground for someone else's growth. And no, you are not too sensitive. You are not too much. You're just finally feeling what you were always supposed to feel. The pain of abandoning yourself for the sake of staying connected to someone else. Love doesn't need you to dim your voice to be heard. It doesn't require you to lose yourself to keep someone else. You don't have to break your own heart to protect someone else's ego. So if you're tired of crying yourself to sleep, tired of justifying their bad behavior, tired of calling dysfunction chemistry, then maybe it's time to ask yourself, what version of love am I still subscribing to? Because love, real love, doesn't cost your dignity. It doesn't require you to beg. It doesn't come and go based on mood or control. It stays. It nurtures. It grows. Love isn't chaotic. People are. Love isn't painful. Unhealed people make it painful. Love doesn't need to be earned through suffering. It flows when you and the other person are safe in your own wholeness. You are not here to be broken down in the name of love. You are not here to prove your loyalty by how much you're willing to endure. You are here to be seen, to be met, to be cherished. And if love asks you to hurt just to hold it, let it go. Because the love that will change your life will never require you to abandon yourself. You've spent enough time believing pain was your path to love. But now you know better. And when you know better, you choose differently. You choose love that heals, not harms. You choose peace, not performance. You choose truth, not tolerance of disrespect. You choose you. You've been made to feel guilty for choosing yourself. Guilty for stepping back. Guilty for going quiet. Guilty for taking the time to breathe, reflect, protect, and heal. They called you distant. They said you've changed, that you're too focused on yourself, too sensitive, too guarded. But here's the truth. Your healing is not selfish. It's necessary. Because what's the alternative? Continuing cycles that leave you drained? Pouring from a cup that's been empty for years? Staying in relationships where your identity gets chipped away day by day just so you can say, at least I'm not alone? No, you've done that already. You've been the woman who gave too much. You've been the one who smiled through pain just to keep the peace. You've sat in rooms full of people who never truly saw you, and you stayed anyway, hoping something would change. And now, when you finally choose you, they say you're the problem. They'll call your healing selfish because it no longer serves them. Because the healed version of you has boundaries. She doesn't play the peacekeeper. She doesn't chase validation. She doesn't tolerate emotional laziness anymore. She's clear, she's direct, she's grounded, and not everyone is ready for that version of you. But let them be uncomfortable, because you are not here to live your life explaining your growth to those who benefited from your brokenness. You are allowed to take up space in your own life. You are allowed to go silent, to unfollow, to say, this doesn't serve me anymore. You are allowed to choose solitude over confusion, stillness over chaos, self-trust over external approval. You are not cold. You are not selfish. You are healing, and healing is messy. It's not pretty. It's not all meditation and journaling and calm nights with candles. No, healing is crying on your bedroom floor because you finally admitted that something you gave your all to was never real. It's shaking with guilt because you chose not to return that message. It's walking away without closure because you realize peace matters more than answers. It's unlearning the habits that kept you liked but miserable. It's standing in the mirror and facing the truth about your own patterns. It's grieving the version of yourself who tolerated less just to feel more. The healing is also liberating. It's the moment you stop gaslighting yourself for being too emotional. It's the way your body exhales when you no longer feel obligated to fix what someone else broke. It's realizing that the people who truly love you will never need you to shrink, explain, or apologize for your evolution. Your healing isn't selfish. It's the greatest gift you can give to the future version of you. Because healed women set new standards. Healed women don't settle for lukewarm love. Healed women raise the vibration of every room they enter. Not because they're loud, but because they've done the quiet work to find peace in their own presence. And when you heal, you don't just heal yourself, you break the cycle for the next generation. You become the woman your younger self needed, the one who doesn't beg to be understood, the one who speaks even if her voice shakes, the one who no longer entertains pain in the name of loyalty. You become magnetic, not because you're chasing anyone, but because you're whole. So no, your healing isn't selfish, it's sacred. And if it makes some people uncomfortable, so be it. You're not living for their comfort. You're living for your wholeness. You've spent enough time silencing your truth, enough time pretending you were okay, enough time carrying everyone else's emotions while ignoring your own. Now it's your turn to choose rest, to choose clarity, to choose people who pour into you with the same energy you've always given. You are not here to be the emotional punching bag for people who never learned how to love. You are here to rise. And rising begins with healing. Healing from what they said, healing from what you believed, healing from what you endured but never processed. You don't need permission to do the work. You don't need validation to say, I deserve better. You just need to believe that this life, your life, is worthy of peace. So no, your healing isn't selfish. It's the beginning of everything sacred. It won't happen overnight, but every time you choose peace over chaos, silence over forced connection, truth over pretending, you are healing. You're not being selfish for choosing you. You're being free. And the woman you're becoming, she's not bitter. She's just finally unavailable for the things that once destroyed her.